market share is in an overnight.
Actually, really surprised with that, Sam. We were actually doing the draw on the winner's circle yesterday. On the slip, it actually listed Jim Morrill Jr. It was marked out and replaced with Tim Tetrick, so obviously a very late change there.
And I guess one of the owners had lunch with Tetrick the other day, and he was available and asked him to drive, so he'll try his hand with Archangel, what should be a very competitive Kentucky Futurity anchoring the Sunday card. Again, post time 1 p.m. here at the Red Mile. Now, tomorrow there's a special ceremony about 10 miles away at the Kentucky Horse Park. Won the West will be inducted into the Hall of Champions there. That is at 10:15 a.m. Everyone's welcome to attend. It's free, and it's a great honor for the $4 million warhorse.
Absolutely is, Sam, and great place to spend out the rest of his days there at the Kentucky Horse Park. Just a beautiful facility. If you can make it out there tomorrow morning, you should certainly do so.
And it's free of charge to get into the horse park for that. They have a shuttle bus to the Hall of Champions for that induction ceremony. Free beverages and refreshments as well. You and I may have to check that out. And Sunday morning, another great institution, the Stable of Memories, the Round Barn, located on the first turn here in Lexington. A special fundraiser to keep that building going. It's a great site for weddings and parties and what have you. Your Kentucky Horsemen's Association uses it quite a bit. Live and silent auction. Just a great cause and a building that's worth keeping. The memorabilia in there is simply amazing.
It really is, and they really rely on those funds generated from the auction. Both a silent auction and a regular auction take place there tomorrow morning, and without those funds, they cannot maintain the building. It's a very old facility, and we need to do what we can to maintain it.
And that starts at 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Kentucky Futurity Day right here at the Red Mile. And now we'll get to handicapping, and before we start today's handicapping session, a week ago Friday, when the 2-year-old trotters raced in the first week of Grand Circuit action, there was a bias, kind of an anti-front end bias in your opinion.
I think this may be the best day of the entire meet here during the Grand Circuit portion to find some value, Sam, because we've seen the bias. Only one winner on the front end here last week on the Friday card, so really think we can maybe find some value today. Horses that appeared to tire while on the front end last week, we should get some nice prices.
Well, let's take a look at the first race on the card. It's an overnight event. You've got some 2-year-olds versus older horses, and the 2-year-olds actually look pretty good. Lady Dynamite, the 4, is probably the fastest, but she has been making some breaks, so I'm going to try the one theatrical session who gets away from 4 straight starts against Grand Circuit competition.
Both of those look very tough. I'm actually going to try the one of the 3-year-olds, though, Del Mary, for one of our local trainers, Jack Ray Jr. And Del Mary did make a break there on the half-mile track last time in Delaware. Prior to that, though, she had been very competitive here against some tough fillies in Kentucky Sire Stakes action, including a win and an overnight as well.
And her Dam Del Martha, of course, a great horse for Jack Gray Jr. I think she was, second in 2 Breeders' Crowns, if I'm not mistaken?
I believe second one year and third the other, but still very nice mare.
So we move on to the second race, first division of the 2-year-old Pacing Fillies in the International Stallion Stakes. Number 1, Nikki Beach, could not have looked better a week ago. Hard to go against her.
I just couldn't do it here, Sam. Obviously would like to find some value, but Nikki Beach just roared by her rivals there down the lane a week ago, 26-2 on the end of it. She comes off back-to-back brilliant efforts, draws the inside 4 driver Tim Tetrick. Do like a price maybe underneath, though. The 5 Miss Mighty M. We talked about the bias there last week. She was on the front end, tired a bit down the lane, still dug in for third. Maybe a lot better in here today.
And Reed Escape was excellent first over, winning her division of the Bluegrass. And I'll tell you another very fast horse, Odds on Alpha, returns with Lasix. She got a little bit too aggressive at the Meadowlands this summer, but a high-powered Some Beach Somewhere filly. If she straightened out, she could be a double-digit price to hit your tickets. Moving on to the third race, 2-year-old Colden Gelding Trotters, International Stallion Stakes. I hate to say it, great minds think alike, or misery loves company. You and I land on the same horse, number 7, You're So Vain, making just his 3rd career start.
It's one of my best bets of the meet, Sam, and obviously you saw what I saw last week as well. It was only his 2nd lifetime start, and really he made a break at his first one, so it was actually the first time we got to see him go an entire mile there. He came from an impossible spot at the top of the lane, tipped 3 deep. They were only down to the half, 59-1, came a big back half there. He really had a lot of trot on the end of it. Home 28 flat. He should continue to improve here, in my opinion, just his 3rd lifetime start.
And number 2, My Man Can, made multiple moves last week as well. He's pretty good. Max Andover, we go from Jimmy Tactor Jr. to Yannick Gingras, and all laid out, won a division of the Bluegrass for James Rattray, Noel Daly's assistant, his biggest career win ever. That was 1 week ago. 4th race, 2-year-old Pacing Fillies again. Number 3, I love the Nightlife, the world champion. Absolutely sprinted. That last 16th of a mile just blew by.
No question, she is the one to beat. as you mentioned, just sprinted that last quarter. Top of the lane, she was actually gapped off her cover just a bit. Looked like she may be in trouble there, but nonetheless, a huge rally on the end of it to sprint by her rivals. I'm going to try another price in here, though, to knock off the heavy favorite, and that's number 5, Maddie Terror Girl. Now, she was a $150,000 yearling purchase last fall. She was absolutely pinned down the lane last week, had nowhere to go, appeared to be overloaded with pace, so I'm going to give her a shot here to knock off the favorites.
Certainly could happen. Ben Wallace also has Big McDeal. He didn't train her last year, but she upset American Jewel in a division of the International Stallion Stakes as well. Fifth race, 2-year-old pacing fillies once again. Number 8, Where the Girls Are, daughter of world champion Cabrini Hanover for Team Tactor, liked her race last week. She took some air, still was strong on the tail end of it. If she gets a little bit of setup, she can kick.
She certainly can, Sam, and how could you get any better breeding than that first crop of Sun Beach Somewhere, as you mentioned, out of Cabrini Hanover. Really liked this filly a lot. First over, dug in very well down the lane, beaten by Nikki Beach. Certainly no shame in that. I'm going to try the 2 fillies coming right back out of that same race, Where the Girls Are, as we mentioned on top. South Pacific, who was against that bias there last week on the front end, she dug in for third. Going to try them right back at here.
And she is scary fast. South Pacific doesn't look like she backs off the gate, but she can certainly roll when she gets to the front. And Ideal Ginny loved her at the Meadowlands earlier this year in New Jersey. Sire Stakes kind of tailed off, but qualified again on Lasix. Big price, I'll use her on the ticket. 6th race, another division of the International Stallion Stake for the 2-year-old Colden Gelding Trotters. Number 3, Fashion Blizzard, beaten favorite last out. Didn't have room till late up the inside. I'm not sure he's a push-button, wicked acceleration horse. I think it takes him a few strides to get rolling. Cleaner trip, and he can win it.
I like him back in here, Sam. It was an eventful trip there. He left, ducked after another horse came and made the lead there. Shook loose late. Just an eventful trip. It was tough to tell if he had a lot of trot in there. I'm willing to come back with him. He has certainly proven to have a lot of talent this year. Never missed the board in 9 career starts. Another horse I do like at a price, though, possibly to hit the ticket is the one Cashco. He really never had clearance a week ago. As our good buddy Dave Brower would say, he had some sneaky late trot there.
Now, does Dave have that phrase copyrighted by chance?
I believe he does.
You have special permission granted from Mr. Brower. Moving on to the 7th race, Division of the Craze for the 2-year-old Colden Gelding Trotters, a late closer. Odds on Windy City, plenty of pedigree. A Donato Hanover out of Windy Lane Hanover drops in class. But again, you and I landed on the same horse, number 8, Costas de Villa, made a decent middle move in that 3rd quarter.
Very tough trip there last time. Like you mentioned, a big move there. Very aggressive for trainer-driver Brad Kramer. And thought this was a bit easier division than he faced there last week. He was coming first over against the eventual winner there, Detour Hanover. With the scratch, Costas de Villa going to start from post 7 now. I look for an off-the-pace effort. Maybe pick up cover and roll by.
And something tells me Costas de Villa cost a little bit less than Detour Hanover when he sold as a yearly. Just my guess, anyhow. Moving on to the 8th race, another division of the Crazed. You've got 2 Week 1 winners that both look pretty good. Number 2, Raven Victory, and number 4, Voodoo Victor. And what do you do with the 8th, Sir James, who got real rough and broke stride on the backstretch while leading?
Wasn't particularly fond of Sir James' effort last time. Spoke with trainer Jim Mullinax. Said he's still a bit green. Driver Yannick Gingras mentioned he was trying to go into a pace there while on the front end last week. So I was going to try and beat a bit here. As you mentioned, the 2 winners from a week ago both looked very well. But I am going to try a first-time starter, trainer-driver Frank Antonacci, the 5 Lindy's True Grit. Now, he's had plenty of practice in the morning here. He actually qualified very nicely on an off-track last time home in 28-1, 2 minutes and a fifth. Didn't think this was an overly tough division. If he's ready to roll, think he may pop here in his first career start.
And the one thing about him, 3 qualifiers back here at the Red Mile, he got down to the 3 quarters pretty good before breaking stride, so he obviously has some speed. Expect a conservative trip probably, but he still might be good enough to get the job done. 9th race, Leah Elmhurst, late closer. Well, the top 4 in this race from a week ago are all back again, and I'm going for number 4, Cameron Lucky, to beat the 3 Alanya trained fillies and mares. Actually was locked in, shook loose late, and was flying at the finish.
Well, I passed along my condolences last week, Sam, to trainer Tony Alanya. He actually finished first, second, and missed a nose of finishing third, or he would have had the trifecta there a week ago in this class. I like those same 4 right back. Could see them coming in any order, trying the 3 if I didn't care on top, but certainly the 1, 3, 4, and 7, the ones to beat in there.
More Grand Circuit 2-year-old trotting colts in race 10. What about number 5, Pine Credit? This is a nice horse. He was rallying well. He comes out of that Major Athens race against Mystical Dew, and Major Athens absolutely just flew in the stretch. Young LaWayne Miller, who grew up Amish, works for Irv Miller, has done a nice job driving up at Tioga and some of the other tracks. Big opportunity for him here.
Yeah, he's certainly not done anything wrong. I found out this week he's no relation to trainer Irv Miller as well. But
Miller's kind of like Smith and Jones in Indiana and Illinois.
That's true. Pine Credit, you actually turned him on to me last week there. or turned me on to him, I should say. Pine Credit, he rolled there third, beating just a half a length, and continues to get better and better. And he was behind a couple of nice trotters there, Major Athens and Mystical Dew. I like him back in here as well.
And speaking of Major Athens, we move ahead to the 11th race. He'd been racing on the lead. He'd gotten beat a couple times, including in the Pennsylvania Sire Stakes Championship by the half-mile track world record holder, Don't You Forget It. Absolutely flew home. And here's my deal with this race. I think both horses are excellent. Don't You Forget It is not as big as You and I. One of the smallest horses I've ever seen. Maybe, just maybe, the mile track is the equalizer, and Major Athens can gun him down.
Well, what a heads-up drive, Sam, last week by Brian Sears on Major Athens. Just the second race on the card, but apparently he realized very quickly there that night that he did not want to put Major Athens on the lead there, and he has wicked early speed. So a nice heads-up drive there as he rallied to get by for the victory. But I love Don't You Forget It. I haven't forgotten his world record performance there at Delaware last time out. Just unbelievable. He won by a football field there, 55 and change. Like this trotter a lot. I'm going to come back with a bit here.
And you remember the Hambletonian winner for Chuck Sylvester, Chip Chip Hooray, was an Ohio Stallion for a while. He was one of the smallest trotters I've ever seen. This horse looks like he's shorter than him. And Tactor said in the winner's circle at Delaware he's actually growing quite a bit too. So very, very fast horse. Should be a great race. So we close it out with another division of the craze. You've got Detour Hanover, the expensive yearling, looking for 3 in a row. But Deadliest Catch was pretty good against Grand Circuit competition. Took some air, actually had the lead in the stretch. I thought he was going to win it, but Punxsutawney came back to beat him.
And no shame in losing to that one, Sam, especially off a tough trip there. Talked to trainer-driver John Dewar in the paddock there last week. He was very high on this colt. I didn't particularly like him in that spot, to be quite honest, but he trotted very well. Close second-place finish there. I have heard a couple of people that were not particularly high on the effort from Detour Hanover a week ago, but he was the only front-end winner on the card, Sam. I think that mile is much, much better than it looks on paper. He hasn't done anything wrong to this point, so I think before we knock him, we should give him a chance to prove himself again today.
Couple notes on Detour Hanover. He did look a little bit grabby. I wouldn't be surprised we'll see some earplugs or maybe a mini bit or some equipment changes. Number 2, going slow, he doesn't look that good. But when he gets in a race, he trots very nice. Whenever somebody came to him, he pinned his ears and trotted on, too. He wants to be a racehorse. A lot of potential here, and I think a lot of natural ability as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's got the pedigree, so we'll see as he continues to put it together. Should be an interesting race as we close out the card.
The pedigree and the price tag. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody, for our Friday edition of the Fall Trots Week 2 here in Lexington. Gabe, we're looking forward to your paddock interviews and winner's circle interviews all day long. Should be a great day of racing. Perfect weather conditions. Enjoy it from the Red Mile. First post at 1 o'clock. Friday.